This is an exciting one. This is the Go 10.3, and well, we've had that little time with it where we're kind of excited about it. The launch has come and gone, and you've seen the first thoughts, things, and now we're going to discuss if there's actually anything wrong with it and anything that actually we prefer any other device for. So for instance, it has low memory storage, so it has less than the Tab Ultra C Pro, for instance, and you can't expand that. Yeah, there's a few people talking about the case. Absolutely. So it's a bit of annoying. The thing you've got to do when you actually turn it over is you've got to not stick it together, but stick it to the back. And then when you open it, I've only just really got this idea. When you open it from the back and it doesn't come off. And then you can close it like so. And hey presto, it's okay. But most of the time you end up sort of taking this off, or it falls off and then the pencil falls off. So, you know, that is a bit annoying. The case is the weaker part of the device, but that's something that's easily remedied when third-party cases come out, maybe. Easily trade the Note F3 to get rid of the gap between the pen and the page. Absolutely. That is one of the key pros of this device. Let's see that right now, because I was asked for that by somebody else as well. If I just get this really close to the camera here, if I show you drawing, hopefully that focuses, but it's pretty close. You know, Voyo will do his amazing test where he does the shadow of the pen to show you just how close that is. But you can see it's as close as it comes, really, is the answer. As close as it comes at the moment. It is good. So that's really nice to see. No issues, yeah, loving it at the minute, great, awesome. We'd love to hear your opinions on it if you've got one. Note F3 black and white. It's really similar write and feel actually, but there is that slight difference. We just discussed it there. To make it more paper-like, one thing you can do is to limit the gap between the actual pen and the e-ink. How noticeable is no BSI? It is noticeable when you're doing things like certain productivity apps. So if I go back, you know, see here, as I'm flipping backwards and forwards, this is when you miss it. When you're zooming in and out on and scrolling on things like OneNote, you see, then that's the notable thing. Useful feature the Boox Go 3 can do, besides note-taking, reading books. Yeah, well, you can do everything. This is the nice thing about Boox is you can use any app that you like. Some things work well on here, some things don't. But for instance, I have all my work apps here as well. So actually this is all linked into my OneDrive. That Microsoft 365 there is Word and PowerPoint, and I can access all of my work files there. So that's really, really useful. That's the one thing I see them as work devices. I obviously have Kindle. I purposely now don't install games on it, but you could certainly, if you were someone who wanted to sit and play chess, you could certainly do that as well. And because they've managed to sneak in, they've managed to fit in this thin tablet, they've managed to fit in speakers. I heard a reviewer say you might want to listen to music on them. Don't listen to music on it, but you could Bluetooth to headphones. They're not that good, but they're fine for listening to podcasts, and they're reasonably loud compared to other things that I've tried recently that are not quite so well built as this. It seems very robust so far. It's plastic. It's plastic sort of on the back, whether the actual very top layer of the screen is glass or plastic. I think it might well be glass actually. Everyone said it's kind of etched glass. That's fine, and it's this kind of like polyurethane, I think, fake leather on the back. And they do say leather rather than parchment, but you know, that's a nice textured back there. And I haven't dropped it yet, although I have dropped other Boox tablets that are the aluminium build, and it's got aluminium around the side. So it's a kind of an aluminium frame in which they've just set the screen, and they've set this fake leather back here as well. So I think it will be reasonably robust actually. Ink screens tend to be quite good. How readable is it in low light indoors? Well, I've got plenty of light here, obviously, because I'm making a video. So, you know, that's not a good demonstration in terms of what it will be like for you in low light, but it is good in low light because the contrast is so good, because it's a pure black and white screen. Actually, I'm finding I'm not really missing that front light much, but that certainly is a flaw of it. It doesn't have a front light, so we'll talk more of that. Battery life seems good so far. I've charged it once since I've had it. It's on 62% right now. It's been backwards and forwards to work this week with me as well, and used all day at work as well. Page wobbles, moves around a bit when writing on an open page. Any suggestions for it? Yeah, I would say the palm rejection isn't as good in OneNote as it is in the Boox specialized app. So let's have a little look at that. If I go over here, how is palm rejection? Palm rejection works when it recognizes you're about to use the pen. So try and, like, when you go to any tablet, indeed, you know, Apple, everything, Lenovo, everything I've used, try and lead with the pen. Try and just make sure the pen goes down first. It becomes a bit of a habit with tablets. If you just try and put the pen down first, you're less likely to get that wobble. You're less likely to move it with your palm, basically, would be my suggestion there, TS. There's a new Write Anywhere function there. Does that mean I can use that with other drawing apps now? That is the free mark thing. No, it isn't quite at the point where you can use that with everywhere. That free mark is about writing on screenshots, essentially, and making yourselves bunches of little PNGs that you can then export out as one kind of document at the end. They solved that keyboard problem, so that's one of those issues, one of those flaws which has been ticked off already by Boox. And isn't it good that they're a company that will actually respond to that immediately, really. I think there was 2 days after Brandon's video and then me noticing that on a video as well. I think it was like 2 days until they'd fixed that problem with the keyboard. So actually I was using it with the keyboard with no issues whatsoever. And look, I mean, one thing that isn't a flaw is that screen. Nice contrast. And now obviously a lot of you are going to miss the front light. I haven't personally missed the front light, not at all actually, and I've actually benefited from the ink being closer to the screen. So actually I think that's a good thing, although in some people's use cases you will be thinking, no, I need something that I can read in like near darkness, and so you'll want a front light. And certainly if you want a color screen, you'll need a front light, in my opinion. Okay, now is the case, we've talked about the case isn't all that good. I've talked about the little flap. I can understand why they've done that, but what I don't really understand is why they didn't just essentially reuse the Note Air free case, because that's really, really good. Why not just have the origami back to it? I don't know. And everyone would have been like, oh yeah, that's just the way Boox cases are now. They're good. The materials are fine actually, but immediately I didn't think they were all that good. And the fact this kind of comes off and then you kind of snaps together, that means that in that area of the screen now, you get less wobble. So if I go to a note, if the clasp is on, then you get wobble around these parts here. So if I just clip it to the back there, you can maybe see that now. Yeah, you're getting wobble there. Can you see that? Okay. Now, by not having that there, you're getting less wobble, but the best thing to do is just to take it out of the device, out of the case completely when you want to draw something neat or write neatly. And now you get like no magnetic interference at all to the pen, which is obviously far better. And now we should be able to, and I did this with a ruler, and you can get perfectly straight lines outside of the case. I would have just have done that really, just presume people can take it off. But there's still more about the case, because actually at first glance, this horizontal stand-up mode, you just push out the back slightly like this. Yeah. And then it clips in like so. This horizontal stand mode, and I can just go and sit somewhere else. That is okay-ish when it's like that, when it's quite vertical, but actually any other angle, it will gradually slip. And I only really know this because I did a time lapse of me using it at work, and you can see on that time lapse on that members video, every now and then I'm pushing it back up like this. So it gradually slips, and it will just slip and slip and slip, and actually it can't stay put, not for a long time, in this angle here. I can perceive that actually slipping gradually there. So I don't know, that's not ideal, is it? And I wondered about actually you could just use the magnet maybe just to help it out a little bit, but no, that's now slipping faster. I also wondered, and they could have done this I think with hindsight, is just put a pair of stronger magnets there and maybe even use this to let it stand up vertically, and you can kind of balance it vertically for a bit if you wanted to have it vertical for a reference document like that. But you certainly aren't going to be able to do that for a long time, and you certainly aren't. The moment you start interacting, you can see what happens. So the case, yeah, not such a great thing, but there we go. We can forgive the case a little bit, I suppose, and know that the device is good, so third-party cases will cure that. Maybe even other Boox cases that you can buy, and at least they include it at a good price, which is good as well. Because there's nice rounded metallic edges, it's causing that slip there. So the edge thing, now Voya pointed out the edge thing, now I had noticed that, but I only ever noticed it when I was trying to pull it out of the case like this. I just kind of felt like I was almost getting my fingernails just underneath the leather thing there. And now looking at it there, I don't think I was getting it underneath the leather thing, because there is a slight little rim there as well. There is a slight little rim, so I wasn't getting underneath the actual leather finish there. Somebody also pointed out this leather finish might not do so well in like tropical climates, that might eventually peel. But I did feel like I was just sort of peeling it off. I haven't. There's no peels along it at all. It is perfectly acceptable, the finish of that. But it is, yeah, it's a slight odd sort of feeling when you pull it out. You kind of feel like you might be about to do it some damage. So there's that. I don't think that is going to become a long-term issue, but only time will tell with that. We've talked about it being like a fake leather, and actually I'm going to continue to call it a parchment, but I looked on the Boox website and actually the back of it, they've listed it as a PU leather. So there we are, they're saying leather, so we've got to kind of stick with that, haven't we? They say giving you the feel of a real notebook, so maybe a leather-bound notebook or something like that. So that's what it's meant to sort of be. The Go series has this kind of parchment feel to it. We talked a little bit about missing BSR, and I just felt that switching between apps wasn't as smooth. And actually one thing I was doing was I was actually using my Z Fold 3 to write with the pen into OneNote, because obviously it's got the S Pen, which is just Wacom EMR as well. And that was really, really good, except it's nowhere near as neat to write into this. So I think this device rewards you for leaving it for one focused task. So if you can manage to treat it as your reader or your writer, then that's a really great thing about it. I would just stick with that. As long as you can live in one app and focus on that thing, then it's great. When I did focus on it, when I did focus on the writing part, then it rewarded me. I was working in Google Docs and I was doing my piece of writing with a mechanical keyboard that I trundled into work with it as well, you know, just to try it out at its sort of best. It worked fine, but again, that typing would have been faster, would have been smoother on color with the BSR. So there we go. You've got the benefit of having, of course, the better battery life as well. We've talked about no fingerprint reader, we've talked about no SD card there as well. So I think that those are legitimate ones, and for some of you, if you're carrying a massive library around, or you need to install loads of apps, or you want to work with pictures and things on lots and lots of digital art, then maybe that could be a deal breaker for you. But Boox have those options, and that's what you've got to think about it there. I do want a fingerprint reader actually. It's not an absolute deal breaker for me, I could live with this, but I do actually have a pin input. I've just disabled it for the live stream because it's annoying closing it and opening it, having to put the pin in. But I would recommend you do put a pin input, as if you're going to be signed into Google Play Store, then it will recognize that this is signed into all your things, and all your passwords will autofill and all of those things. So I would suggest you need a pin on it if that's the case for you. And certainly if you want to leave your work things signed in, then you should certainly have it pin secured. Apart from that, there aren't many flaws. I think if you want Android and you want e-ink and you want something super thin and super light, then this is now the answer. And a lot of people were having to choose Remarkable over this because they liked the look and they liked the feel, and they were, you know, taken in by that kind of marketing. You know, not wrongly, it's a good device, the Remarkable. I do really like it, but this now allows you to have the same attractive look. You know, it's not the same look exactly, but the same level of attractive look. And you can have, see, I can just feel getting under that slightly, but it's not getting under it because there is a slight rail there as well. I think that is a little extra rail there. I'm not getting under the leather, but you never know, that might peel one day there. But it does have a really nice look to it. And now you can have that, and you can have Android as well.